I thought my goal was to become a professional photographer. I thought professional meant someone who had mastered their craft and had some legitimacy. But now I'm starting to realize that maybe I don't even know what a professional is. I thought being called an amateur was an insult. I thought it meant that you had a lack of skill.
And the majority of the photos that we see from most amateur people shooting are not going to be very good.
But I'm starting to realize that the difference between a professional and an amateur isn't solely based on skill level. The simple definition of a pro is someone who's paid for their work. But when it comes to photography, this definition doesn't seem to fit perfectly. There's many great photographers who were never actually paid for their work, like Vivian Mayer. Tony Northrup brought up a great point of whether some world-renowned photographers could have been considered professional prior to having their first print sold.
At some point, Ansel Adams was, say, 17 years old, and he'd never sold a print or a calendar, but he was putting in months and months of work to get some beautiful landscape because that's what he wanted to do. And then it took him a couple of years between taking these pictures to the point where he actually sold something and made some money off of it. So was he a pro at the instant cash changed hands? Or was he actually a pro when he was taking that picture that would eventually be sold?
Do you think like the check cleared and he was like, put on his name tag, pro photographer?
Yeah. But would he retroactively become a pro at the point when he was shooting the pictures?
I would like to get paid for my photography. I love money, but it hasn't happened yet. Now, getting paid to do something you love seems like a dream come true. But I was watching the Petapixel podcast, and they made me realize that there's possibly some downsides to getting paid for something you're passionate about.
And you have to just be aware that your passion for that particular genre of photography is going to take a hit if that's how you're, paying your bills. If you're looking at that when you're frustrated, dealing with a difficult client and things like that, you will lose some of your mojo for it. Like I know some of the best times I've had in my entire life have been working on film sets.
With Chris Nichols, yeah.
With Chris Nichols, my favorite human being. Yeah. It's certainly niceness equivalent to Ted Forbes.
Absolutely. Yeah, many people have said that.
Yeah, but then at the same token, I have so many friends who are in that business full time, and almost all of them are like burned out, divorced, exhausted, have no patience for it.
Damn, we're really selling it, aren't we?
Even though I haven't been paid for my photography yet, I have noticed that when I shot my friend's wedding, the tension to get decently composed, in-focus shots diminished some of the normal joy that I feel when I go out and photograph squirrels. It's possible that I crave the title of professional because I want some outward confirmation that my photography doesn't absolutely suck. I figure if someone calls me a professional, that means my work must be good. But according to Tony Northrup, there's professional photographers who have absolutely appalling work. In fact, he goes so far as to disconnect skill from being professional altogether.
I had a friend who got hired as a Sears portrait photographer back when this existed. They brought her in. They basically told her nothing about the camera except where the shutter button was. They said, don't move it. The lights are all set up. Don't move them. Have people sit here. Tell them to look at the stuffed parrot. There was like a parrot on top of the camera.
It was real.
And then when people are smiling, you push the button. And then all the rest of her training went into getting them to buy prints. So is she a pro photographer? At that point, she did not know how to use what aperture was or what shutter speed was. She didn't know what a PC sync cable would be or how the flashes were working or the difference between a beauty dish and a softbox. She was using them, but is she a pro?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely call her a pro because I don't think of the word pro as insinuating skill or quality.
We're not glamorizing it.
Yeah.
It's like very technically.
Yeah, most people I think do. I think if you're a pro, they expect you to produce pro results. And I've known a lot of pro photographers in my days, and I've seen a lot of paid pictures that I thought were of appalling quality.
If the label of professional has nothing to do with skill, I wonder how I'll ever know if I'm any good or not. In hopes of getting some feedback, I have joined a Facebook group called Stunning Digital Photography, but normally I just get a few likes. and no real constructive criticism. I am greatly aware of Dunning-Kruger syndrome. When someone lacks knowledge or competence in an area, I greatly overestimate their abilities. I don't want to fall into that trap. I was watching Jamie Windsor's channel, and he gave some great advice as to what my real goal should be in photography. You want to continue to learn and grow and not become stagnant.
Always keep learning. You have never learnt everything because the world is moving forward. Photography is always changing, and because of this constant forward momentum, if you stand still, you're effectively going backwards. So never think that you've finished learning something. Never think that you know everything there is to know about it, because there's always more. Find it and make yourself learn it. Number 5, lastly, understand that feeling bad about your old work is a sign that you're moving forward. When you start to realize how not good you are, that means that you've got over the biggest hurdle and you understand what you need to do. So you're developing the skills in order to do better. And that's a really, really positive thing. Keep reading those books, keep educating yourself, keep practicing, keep moving forward.
If embarrassment over your older photos is a sign of growth, I definitely think I'm growing as a photographer. I have noticed an evolution in my squirrel photography. When I first started photographing squirrels, I wasn't concerned about posing, cluttered backgrounds, proper lighting. Then I started to realize it was more interesting if I could get the squirrels to look toward the camera. And then I realized the effect that lighting has, especially if you go out during golden hour. I was embarrassed to be called an amateur because I thought it meant that you lack skill. But according to Tony Northrup, being an amateur is doing the photography for yourself and not doing it to serve someone else.
I'm going to say you're a pro photographer if your intention is to make money from the pictures that you're taking. If you're shooting with somebody else's needs in mind in order to get some money out of them, you're a pro. It doesn't matter about your skill level. I want to take skill level and quality of images out of the definition because I want there to be skilled amateurs who are doing it for the love of the art and not to make money. And I want to differentiate that.
Watching the photographic eye really put everything into perspective. You don't need the acclaim of the world to be a successful photographer.
If no other person other than yourself ever sees your photography, so long as the act of taking a photograph or recording it makes you happy, then your photography will be a success. The amateur photographer isn't dead. Rather although technically I'm a kind of professional, but at heart I'm still very much an amateur. We've simply lost our way a bit. Despite having the platforms available to us to show off our photography far and wide, we don't have to. There's nothing wrong with not showing your photography off to the whole world if you don't want to. Latrigue's photography is wonderful because it wasn't created for you. It wasn't created for me or anybody else but the photographer. He was unquestionably talented. He was enthusiastic and extremely prolific. But first and foremost, though, he was an amateur. The photography is genuine. I want you to be an amateur for as long as you can. Learn, improve, evolve, but do so for yourself, not as some method of getting likes from people who don't know you and don't really care about you.
I've come to realize that I don't need the label of professional to validate a level of skill, and getting paid for photography just might take away some of the joy it brings me. If you like this video, give it a like, consider subscribing for more photography-related content from a newbie like me. God bless.